on some important missile we discussed yesterday that some people were not here, they missed it. That we discussed this thus far. That one is for something to become halal to eat, to consume, right? So that is only with regards to the halal animals like the herbivores, sheep, goats, right? Herbivores, maybe it's not maybe a full definition, but just like a rough definition, right? So in order for you to consume those things, it must be slaughtered in a halal manner. The person must be a kitabi or Muslim, etc. And at least three of the veins must be slaughtered, then it becomes halal, right? That's the one thing. Then the next thing is, besides the khinzir, this is all what we discussed, we're just recapping. Besides the khinzir, every other animal, besides if it is slaughtered and the blood is expelled, then the pelt and the flesh, everything will become part, right? That's a separate masla. Yesterday we discussed this here that in the halal animals, there are certain parts like the horns, the hooves, the feathers, the claws, the beaks, the bones. It does not have an exactly highest form of life in it. And how it differentiates those things, with if it is cut or if it is severed, a person does not feel pain, like the horn itself, the hair itself, the bone itself. If you break it, if you sever it, you don't feel any pain. So these things, like how for the flesh to become halal, like how for the flesh to become halal, um, it has to be slaughtered in a shari manner. These things don't need to be slaughtered in a shari manner. So, if you take the horn of an animal, if you take the fiber of the skin, if you take the hair on the goat, if you take the hoof, and even though the animal was not slaughtered in a halal manner, but because we said that no life, it was not in need of a shari zakat, that will become halal for you to consume, and even it will be pak. So I told you that once you had a question about linoleum. This is a type of oil that's taken or harvested from the fibers of a sheep. So even though the sheep is not slaughtered in a halal manner, it was a sheep that died, whatever. If the or slaughtered in a haram manner, like non-Muslim, whatever. So since that does not have life in it, we'll say it was not need of shari zakat, so that will be permissible. To such an extent, even the bones, if it's not stored in a halal manner and you're able to remove all the residue of the meat, etc., it will be permissible. So you can, if it's thoroughly cleansed, and then if something is made from the horns or from the hair or from the feathers or anything else. There was a masla that people were asking once now recently. Something means manufactured from the feathers of a chicken. So we say even if the chicken is not slaughtered in a halal manner, because it is a halal animal, the chicken is not, yeah. Another famous masla, that this same famous masla, I forgot, how could I forget this? This is the main masla. Cheese, the rennet is something which comes from the stomach of a calf. Now, also, it's some liquids that solidify in the stomach of the calf, right? So, this also, it is like a life. It doesn't have life like how the rest of the body of the calf have a life in it. Rennet is it's called in Arabic, it's called anfahatun. So that is why most of the cheese itself, the core ingredient. So even if the cheese comes from a cow which is not slaughtered in a halal manner, it's not slaughtered in a halal manner. There's no other haram ingredients. Yes, there's other haram ingredients that are different. Maybe it's got gelatin, but the core ingredient in a cheese. That's why I know for a fact when we were growing up, we used to always most of the cheese we never eat it. We always say this cheese, but then when ulama came to in the research came to light, and all of a sudden all our cheese became halal. It's all our cheese is halal, so long as no haram ingredients, because the anfah is something. It's a liquid that congeals in the stomach of the calf. When they slaughter the calf, they remove this rennet. So they, even though it comes from a non-halal slaughtered calf, it is still permissible because it doesn't have light. It is just what you call mala tahulul hayat. Do you say ولنا أنه لا حياة فيهما, right? ولهذا لا يتعلم بقطعهما فلا يحله الموت. So provided the cheese doesn't have any other haram ingredient, but the core ingredient, which is the rennet, and there's also hadith to support this. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam even ate the cheese of some non-Muslims, and that is the basis on this, because the rennet that is used in the manufacture of the cheese, it comes from something which is there's no life in it. I hope this masla is sufficiently clear. You understood it. If anybody has any questions about this masla, so in simple terms, something which has on a halal body and on the body of a halal animal, it doesn't have a fullest form of life, and the criterion of understanding whether it's life or not. When you cut it, you break it, the animal doesn't feel pain. Like I told you, when you file the hooves of a cow, you file the hooves of a horse, etc., it doesn't feel pain, etc., right? Okay, so that brings us to the end of the discussion. Then we started the discussion yesterday of fossil fil bi'ri. This is about if you have a well and some najasat falls into the well. Now, generally, a well would be ma'a kathir, sorry, ma'a qalil. A well would be ma'a qalil. And the laws of ma'a qalil are pretty simple. That najasat, no matter how little or how much falls in, whether you see, smell it, or taste it, the ma'a qalil becomes najis. So that is the law of normal ma'a qalil and this is ma'a qalil. But a well is different. A well, it is fed from the bottom all the time, right? Either the well is situated on a spring or either it has veins in the rock. So the normal laws of my Khalil cannot apply. You can't just take the water out and scrub it and it will come clean. So it's a bit different. It's more so what we do here, we mentioned you say we don't apply the normal laws of purifying something that has been contaminated, ma'aqalil has been contaminated. The laws are slightly different, and we use mostly asar. Asar means things that have been narrated either from the hadith or has been narrated from the senior Sahaba Ikram or from the Tabi'in, because this is different to your regular najis thing, right? Right. Okay, read a new lesson, inshallah. Okay, Bismillah. إذا وقعت في البئر نجاسة. So I was telling you the laws of a well is slightly different, right? So if وقعت في البئر نجاسة, if it falls in a well, najasatun, some najasat, nuzihat, you will remove the water, right? وكان نزح ما فيها من الماء طهارة لها. Right now, by just removing the water, the amount of water that is there, that will be a cleansing point. Unlike others, if something else is najis, you have to remove that, you have to wash it, you have to clean it. Just how much water there was, you remove that. وَكَانَ نَزْفُ مَا فِيهَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ طَهْرٌ لَهَا. Right? بِإِجْمَاعِ salaf. And as I told you, here we've got the consensus of all the salaf al-salihin. So I was telling you that this more works on narrated text, not on logical text. They are saying, وَمَسَائِلُ الْبِئْرِ مَبْنِيَّةٌ عَلَى اتِّبَاعِ الْآثَارِ دُونَ الْقِيَاسِ. The masail of a well, they are all based upon following the narrated text. We look at what has been narrated from the seniors, right? دُونَ الْقِيَاسِ, not uh, logic, right? So I was telling you, we must always try when we study the Messiah, try to see how we can apply this to the modern day context. So a well is something which has been constantly being fed. The water cannot be removed. Now I remember I told you we always try to see. I told you the author authors the book according to what the circumstance, according to the bi'ah, the environment around him. So in Fatwa Usmaniya of Mufti Taqi Usmani, he's got a masla there of you've got a tank which is constantly being fed by a borehole, and if some najasat falls into there, how do you get it clean? So isn't a tank that's been constantly fed similar to a well that's been constantly fed? I must find it if I get a chance. I got it booked by the house. I can try to check it. So he says that a tank, like how we have tanks, you have a ball, you have a tank. So every time that ball drops a little bit, that watermark, that thing naturally it activates the pump and it draws water from the ball and it gets fills up. So he says something there, if I remember correctly, that by just like how we say the well, just remove one load. If you remove one load, inshallah, it will become park, right? The next masala is very, very interesting that we're going to do here. We learn a lot of usul from here. From the next masala is going to come. As I said again, I repeat, maybe the masala itself is not so relevant, but obviously the author uses the masala to show the usul. You can't explain the usul without giving. So the thing for us is to do is to see where we can apply this usul. Where's modern day scenarios where we are living? Where can we find a scenario that is similar in our context, right? Right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. See, إذا وقت فيها بعرة أو بعرتان من بعر الإبل أو الغنم لم تفصل الماء استحسانا. So now we know the law that if you got Maya Qalil, you got Maya Qalil, even if a little najasat falls, it becomes najis. Even if a little. But here I told you that the laws of a well, because it is being constantly fed, right, etc., is different. If ba'aratun was a nice word, like one, what you call dropping, like you can say ba'aratun refers to dung, right? In English word is a different type of words for the different type of droppings. What is saying? One small dropping or two droppings fell into the well, right? From a camel. Ghanam refer to the other type of domesticated animals. Lam tafstudi ma'u ihtisanan. So technically, logically speaking, that whole well is supposed to become najis. Logically speaking, the whole well is supposed to become najis, right? But here we say no, it won't become najis. See, wal qiyasu an tufsidahu liwuqu'i najasati fil ma'il qalil. The logic is that this one dropping or two droppings an tufsidahu, it will corrupt the water liwuqu'i najasati fil ma'il qalili, because of the falling of the jasad in the little water. That is the logical thing. But wajhul istisani. Istisana, I tell you, you do this in detail in your usul al-fiqh. Istisana is where you look deeper than normal, you look deeper than regular logic. You look deeper than regular logic. So yeah, we look deeper than regular logic. And the deeper logic is this here. Look, the wells in the countryside, by the farms, etc., they don't have any barriers around them. It's very difficult to protect it from one or two pieces of najasat falling in. If we say it's going to become najis on account, or it's one or two pieces of najasat, it will make life very, very difficult. So that means the shepherd, every time the animals are grazing around the well, he's giving them water, one piece of najasat falls in there, then you have to draw all the water out again. The amount of water is 1,000 liters. So there's great difficulty. And I tell you, there's a principle called haraj. Al haraju madfu'un. The difficulty is repelled. It is taken away. And there's another principle also. إذا ضاق الأمر اتسع. When the matter becomes very difficult, then Sharia give expense. So we put aside the regular logic and we go a bit deeper here and we say that one or two will not contaminate the water. So wajud istisani anna abar falawati, we say that the wells of the countryside laysat laha ru'usun hajizatun. It doesn't have a hajizatun, a barrier on the head of it, right? Wal mawashi tab'uru hawlaha. And generally the animals, they will do the droppings around it. Fatulqiha riyahu fiha. The wind will throw it in there, it will carry it in, right? فيجعل القليل عفوا لضرورته فجعل القليل, so the little water is made afwan, forgiven, right, because of the zarurat, right. I was telling you, I was telling you, imagine every time you're going to tell him no, you have to remove all the water, how much difficulty. وَلَا ضَرُورَةَ فِي الْكَثِيرِ. But if a lot falls in, a lot of najasat falls in, then under those circumstances we say, no, this, a lot doesn't just fall in every day. It's a rare occurrence. So a rare occurrence is not necessary to warrant some type of latitude. Are you with me? A rare occurrence is not necessary to warrant some type of latitude. Right, so now we say a lot is a rare of occurrence, so it's not something to a great inconvenience. Yes, if a lot of najasat falls in there, we say it is najis. Now, what is a lot? Imam Hanifa in his original mazhab, many times he leaves it to the discretion of the person that is involved, called the mubtala bihi. That's why even, when we discuss the masala of my qalil and my kathir, what is a lot of water and what is a little water? What is a lot of water and what is a little water? Um, they, Imam Hanifa say, whatever the person is involved, according to his mind, this is a lot, it will be a lot. Whatever in his mind is a little, will be considered a little. So same thing here. وَمَا يَسْتَكْثِرُهُ النَّاظِرُ إِلَيْهِ. That which the person looks at it, the person involved, when he comes to the West, oh, there's so much najasat. No, I can't make wudu with this. Then if he comes here, oh, it's just a little najat. It's fine. I'm sure it's fine. So what? So it left to the discretion of it's called the mubtala bi. Ibtala, yabtali, mubtalin. Ubtila, mubtala. So we say, وهو ما يستكثر الناظر إليها في المروي عن أبي حنيفة, which is narrated on Abu Talib of Hanifa, وعليه الاعتماد, and you're saying that the fatwa is upon that, right? Then in the next ibarah, it's saying there's no difference between the different type of droppings, whether it's old dropping, whether it's fresh dropping. So you can't say, oh, this is a fresh dropping, so it must be najis. Or there's an old dried and outstayed in the sun. If you see like the dropping of a cow and you see the dropping of a goat, old, it looks almost like just grass. You say, oh, this is dry, man. It's like grass. It won't make najis. Oh, this is still fresh. It's still got like the body fluids in. So it's like, no, it's saying, ولا فرق بين الرطب. There's no difference between the fresh one, واليابس, and the dry one, والصحيح, and the dropping that still hold, والمنكسر, and the one that is broken, والروثي والخسيء والبعري. Routhi is also, this is reference also to the type of dropping. So routh is like a wet dropping. Khisi refers to dry one, right? So all, it's all fresh, broken, whatever, all. So that is right. What's the other one we said? Well, Ba'ri refers to like a small animals one, right? لأن الضرورة تشمل الكل, because in all there's a necessary to create some latitude. Otherwise, the shepherd or the people living in the countryside or the farmers, they will be greatly inconvenienced. This also right. See also they show you another one to explain this. وفي شاة تبعر في المحلب بعرة أو بعرتين. With regards to a sheep that drops one dropping في المحلب in the milk bucket, or two droppings, قالوا ترمى البعرة ويشرب اللبن لمكان الضرورة. They say that the dropping will be thrown out and the milk will be drunk because of necessity. So imagine a person got, I mean, back then life was very difficult. Life was not so easy like today. You just walk into the shop, you buy milk. People had to work hard for everything. So you milking the sheep all the time. And yeah, you milk all the sheep in one bucket. You milk all the sheep. Now you were the last sheep and you almost finish. And yeah, that sheep decided to do a dropping there, to do a deposit, and by mistake that fell in the milk. What will I, all your milk is wasted. How unfortunate that wouldn't be. So this is like an unavoidable situation. What is it? It is an unavoidable situation. That is why Sharia has created some type of latitude in there. It's saying, قالوا ترمى البعرة ويشرب اللبن لمكان ضرورة, because of the ضرورة. Right. Another masala that comes to my mind here is, this comes also in Sharh al-Wiqaya. In previous day, didn't have mills like what we have today, né? So what they would have is they would have like the wheat, you would have an ox that would trample it and grind it, you thrash it. What? An ox would trample it and an ox would grind it. So now you can't control the bowels of the ox. The ox will, you will mess in there, right? So does that mean we say all of that wheat is contaminated, you must throw all away? You will remove obviously the najasat, but you will not consider all the meat contaminated. Why? Because that is a zarurat. And also they explained it like bread is a staple food. If you're going to say all the wheat is contaminated, all the flour is contaminated, what will happen? What will happen? It will be cause a great of difficulty. It will call haraj. So that is another masla. So that's masla where people will be greatly inconvenienced. It also impacts, and even this year also affects the masla of. This is a detailed masla I want to discuss. Maybe I'll discuss it another time with you about the synthetic alcohol in Coca-Cola. Synthetic alcohol. There's no doubt that the Coca-Cola, your chocolates, your vanilla essence, all the stuff, it has got the type of alcohol in it. There's no doubt in that. But why it's permissible? This principle here about when there's difficulty in something, it creates latitude. It plays a role. Those ulama that gave a fatwa to say it's permissible to drink the coke. It's permissible to have your vanilla essence. It's permissible to have all your cakes, all that stuff. This must not that there's difficulty because, but I'll explain it maybe when we meet again. That must some explain to you. It requires some time. But anyway, so he's saying, don't be mistaken with this and think that if you got a small utensil, if you got a small utensil of water, and if one drop of urine or something falls in there, then it mustn't become najis. No, that's different. There's no ولا يؤثر القليل في الإناء على ما قيل. A little, right, ولا najasatness in a utensil will not be given. So you say, oh, if one dropping falls in the milk, it's not najis. So if I got a bucket of water and just one drop of urine fell in there, or one drop of blood, or one drop of sperm fell in there, it should be parked. No, no, no. Don't make this analogy. Here in our analogy about the dropping falling the milk, this is unavoidable because you don't have control over that sheep. You can't tell a sheep, hey, don't drop anything now, don't make a deposit here now. I'm busy milking. And that's one thing. And the second thing is you got no control over it. And milk is a zarurat, etc., etc., right? Unlike water, so you can't say, oh, like if one dropping falls in the water, in the milk is not najis, so if one drop of urine falls in the water, it shouldn't be. No. وَلَا يُؤْفَلُ قَلِيلُ فِي الْإِنَاءِ عَلَى مَا قِيلَ. So a little of najasa, najasati fil inai will not be forgiven ala maqila fil لعدم ضرورة because there's no ضرورة there. ولا بيحل أنه كالبئر في حق البعرة والبعرتين. But there is also opinion, but the fatwa is not upon this. There's also an opinion of Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah. He says that my qalil, right? ولا بحنيفة أنه كالبئر. It is like a well. في حق البعرة والبعرتين. With regards to if you got little water and just one small dropping of a sheep in, it shouldn't make it najis. It shouldn't make it najis. But obviously that shows you that the fatwa is not upon that day. When you get kila, you get the preferred masla is that even if a small dropping falls in a little water, it would be najis, right? Okay, we'll stop there, inshallah. We will continue. Again, subhanallah, bihamdihi.